The following episode is explicit and is intended for mature audiences. Listener and viewer discretion is advised.
Hey everybody, it's Nathaniel Avila reporting from Dallas County.
And I'm Clara Avila, also reporting from Dallas County.
Right, quick on the draw, Clara.
Well, because you usually say, and I'm here with.
Oh, I'm here with.
Sorry.
You
switched up the game on me, man.
Switched up the game on me, man. Yeah. So, do we have any news for new news for Hazbin Hotel Helluva Boss at all?
You tell me, Nathaniel. I don't look at the news.
I personally haven't heard anything. Haven't heard anything. Haven't seen anything.
A quiet news weeks.
The closest thing that I could think of is the Pride Month stuff.
Oh, like the usual sale that's coming out?
Yeah, the Pride Month stuff. Yeah, Vivzy is releasing the Pride pins and stickers.
I did see some merch from Lululand.
Yeah.
That little plush that Moxie gets for Millie.
Oh, yeah.
Releasing that. That looks really cute.
Are you gonna get it?
Maybe. I don't know.
I have Moxie's beanie from Ghost Effers.
I mean, that's a good one.
Yeah. That took forever to get here because I got a pre-order.
Oh, well, yeah. Well, pre-orders means they're not ready yet, so you have to wait for when they get there.
And they confirmed sexualities of some characters.
I guess. I don't know if that's really news specifically.
I mean, a lot of people were like, "Oh my gosh!"
Like, whoa! I can't believe that Vortex is straight.
Yeah, Vortex is straight.
Whoa!
You'll never guess. Adam is also straight.
Whoa! Who would have thought it?
Yeah.
Who could have imagined?
Lucifer is confirmed to be pansexual.
Right.
So, but he's in a hetero.
Great for him.
But he's in a hetero passing relationship.
Sure, I guess.
What do you mean? Sure, yes.
I feel like he's not really in a relationship right now.
Oh, he's in a situationship. Excuse me.
There's something going on, but I don't know what it is.
We don't know Lilith's sexuality yet.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll learn later.
Maybe after she's been more in the show.
Yeah. Oh, they also confirmed that, what was her name? Mayberry? Maryberry?
Maryberry
is...
Yeah, the teacher.
Is gay.
Yes, lesbian.
Which is strange because she had a family, right?
Well, there's a lot of easy explanations for that. It could be that she grew up in a more traditional household, and so her idea of having a perfect life would be, husband, children, and maybe she never had a chance to explore anything outside of that.
And she got so upset that her husband was cheating on her that she killed him.
Well, that shatters her perfect, life.
Yeah.
Right? Her idea of a perfect life. If your husband cheats on you, that and if you're so obsessed with that, why are you rolling your eyes?
No, I was just thinking, I was just thinking that, wow, that must have been an awkward conversation when they were in hell.
Probably didn't talk to him in hell.
Why
would she?
Because she would be like, "How could you cheat on me?" And then he was like, "But you never touched me." And then she was like, "'Cause I'm gay." And they're like, "No."
Maybe that could have happened.
And then she calls IMP to kill what's her face.
No. I think that probably would have happened after. Like, she kills him, and then she goes to IMP, and then maybe she talks to him after.
Okay, we don't even know. He doesn't even have a name.
I don't know, exactly. We never see him again.
We never see his family again.
So, there are plenty of people in real life who marry somebody, and then they realize, oh, I only married you because I thought this was the way that I had to do it.
Right.
Actually, I'm not into men, I'm into women, or I'm not into women, I'm into men.
Right.
Common.
Yeah, so yeah, happy Pride Month, everyone.
Yes.
Hooray!
Hooray! The flags, get them out. Make sure if you're going to any Pride parades, hydrate, get water. It's really important.
Yep.
Don't be in the sun too much. Try to get shade and sit down when you can.
Yeah.
Don't want to have any fainting situations.
Yep. I know, because I've seen every episode of Drag Race.
Great.
So
wear good shoes. Well, that doesn't have anything to do with the Pride Parade.
Oh.
They're just drag queens.
Oh, okay.
in the runway.
Do you think I could be a judge on
No, you
Drag
don't.
Race?
No.
Yeah, I could do it.
You can't.
I think I can do it.
You're not anybody.
You hear that? You hear what she says to me? She
Are
says
you a
I'm not
famous
anybody.
person? No.
Yeah, I'm
Are you
the
a famous
host.
person?
I'm the host
This is not
of
a
Hazbin
famous...
Hotel Helluva
And what does
podcast.
that have to do with
Oh,
the LGBTQ
there's
community?
LGBT characters in the show.
So?
That
does not mean anything.
So by
Have
5
you
degrees,
revolutionized and done things for the
5 degrees
LGBTQ plus
of
community?
separation, I kind
No,
of
that's
maybe.
that's too much separation. You need
Okay.
to be like 2 degrees separation to even be considered
Okay.
for a judging
Okay.
position.
But I did make that LGBTQ film that's currently in film festivals.
Who's seen it?
Well, we're about to set our world premiere in San Antonio.
Your world premiere.
Yeah, that's
oh
what-
God.
That's what it's called.
Okay.
That's what it's called. What do you want me to call it? State premiere? Is that would that
Yeah,
make it better?
because I don't think anybody outside of the state is gonna see it.
Okay. Well, yeah. Okay. See, she tramples all over me, but
This is just based off of what you've been telling me about things that have been happening.
about the film.
Yes.
I mean, I guess. Hopefully. So, wait, no. We did get honorable mention at the Chicano Hollywood Film Festival.
Oh, honorable mention. Are they gonna play the film?
I don't know. Maybe. We
Well
don't.
done.
We're still ironing the details. But anyway,
Who's to say? But before we started, you said that you had something that you wanted to talk about.
Yeah, I kind of want to do this episode on something because if you would please indulge me.
Okay. I'll consider it.
If you would please indulge me,
I'll
it's something
consider
that
it.
I do like to do, and I will try my best to relate it as much to Hazbin Hotel and Helluva Boss as I possibly can.
Okay.
Because I want to talk about the Divine Comedy.
The Divine Comedy from Dante?
Yes, Dante Alighieri.
Okay.
And
why?
because it is very because it was one of the earliest depictions of what hell is like. Same thing for Hazbin Hotel and Helluva. And it's clearly that Vivsy took some inspiration from it.
Okay.
Specifically the division of rings to divide hell.
Well, plenty of people take it from that.
Yeah. Except he called them circles.
Yeah.
But, it's the same deal.
Same difference. Rings, circles.
So, yeah, I'm not going to dive into too deep thing because I'm not a Dantean scholar by any means.
Mm-hmm. Is that what they call those people?
Yeah.
Who are really into Dante?
Yeah, they're
Dantean scholars?
Dantean scholars, yeah.
Wow.
So
Do you need like a degree for that?
Probably not. You'll probably need a degree in medieval literature, but medieval Italian literature. But trust me, it is a very interesting, fun read. It's actually one of my favorite pieces of literature.
Let's indulge him, guys.
Yeah, so like some background, basically. This is basically a poem, an epic poem, which is basically like hundreds and hundreds of pages long. So it's not like a little sonnet that you would see like in Shakespeare, but it is a huge epic poem that is
that's what
very,
an
very
epic
long.
is.
Right.
And a giant poem.
Yeah. And it was written by this guy named Dante Alighieri. Who was living in
just this guy.
Yeah, It was a poet who was living in 13th century Italy.
Yeah, way back in the day.
Yeah. And it was he was living, well, not in Italy. I think he was living in the Holy Roman Empire, which is what it was called at the time.
Yeah.
And it was during a time of very big civil strife within the empire. Let me make sure. There's a group of people who pledged loyalty to the emperor, and the other group pledged loyalty to the Pope.
Yeah.
Of the Holy Roman Empire.
Yeah.
Dante, mostly, I think he leaned more Pope. But he basically wrote out this entire thing, basically venting all of his frustrations in this poem. Now,
classic poet thing.
Now, if this was released today, we would probably call it a crack fic. Because that's kind of what it is.
Yeah.
It's very fan fiction-y.
The first Catholic fan fiction. Or Christian,
yeah.
I guess.
Yeah, because it was before the divide.
Yeah.
But it was... But yeah, like, he basically got really heated.
Bible fan fiction.
Yeah, and he also had this thing, and he basically did his self-insert throughout the entire comedy.
Yes.
The first one being in the Inferno, which some people call it the Dante's Inferno. Some people call it just Inferno.
Yeah.
And like they dropped the they call it Inferno. Some people just call it Dante, but
that book with when you're in hell.
Right.
The hell book.
So, right. So, so I'm going to call it the Inferno for this. So apparently the entire purpose, the entire setting of the poem is that it's supposed to take place during Easter weekend. Mm-hmm. Right? Yeah. So apparently it begins on Holy Thursday, the night of Holy Thursday,
right.
March 24th or April 7th, depending on who you ask, the year 1300.
Right.
So basically Dante, he wrote himself, he's self-insert, basically gets, he says that he's midway through his life. So that means he's 35, because apparently the biblical length of a person's life is 70.
Yeah.
So basically he finds this this mountain, right? The small mountain or the small hill, which is supposed to represent salvation or something. But it's blocked by a leopard and a lion and a she-wolf, which are supposed to represent other things also. It's supposed to represent...
other things.
Right.
Right.
Apparently, it was supposed to represent the three kinds of sin that bring an unrepentant soul into one of the three major divisions of hell.
Okay.
So, I'm trying to figure out what those three are supposed to represent.
I don't know.
Yeah, they're supposed to represent something.
Spottiness.
I think
when your Wi-Fi is spotty, and that's not good.
Yeah, I guess.
That's what the leopard represents, right?
That his Wi-Fi was spotty?
Yeah, his Wi-Fi is spotty.
Okay, so basically, so the she-wolf is supposed to represent incontinence.
Okay.
You know what that means?
Isn't that like when you lose control of your bladder?
That's not what that means.
What does it mean?
It's the phenomenon of acting against one's better judgment.
Ah, yes, okay. I understand.
Then we got violence and bestiality, which is what the lion is.
Yikes.
And fraud and malice, which is what the leopard is supposed to represent.
Ah. The leopard is fraud and malice, everyone, not spotty Wi-Fi.
Right. So, Dante is like, okay, I can't climb the mountain because these three animals won't let me, so I'm just going to go the other way. And that's when he is rescued by a figure who is actually Virgil.
Right, Virgil, yes.
Who was a Roman poet and was also the author of the Aeneid, which is a Latin poem which also takes place in the underground, but like the
Aeneid
Roman.
or the Iliad?
The Aeneid.
Interesting.
Aeneid? I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right. But we'll see throughout this poem, Clara.
Yes.
That Dante was a major Roman bootlicker.
Oh, he was okay.
He was one of those guys.
Licking the boots of the Romans.
He was one of those guys who would talk about the Romans constantly.
Yeah.
And I forgot to mention this one other thing. He seemed to have this strange obsession with this girl named Beatrice. Who he was like, this is the love of my life, oh my gosh. And he wrote her into this comedy as basically like this divine person who was like, Dante, you gotta go through this thing so you can prove yourself or something. And that was that whole thing. And I think she died.
Ooh.
when Dante was writing this. That's why he portrayed her as like this angelic being. There are some people who say that she might have been underage, but you know.
Well, you know, the times they sure do change.
Yeah. So Dante meets Virgil, And Dante's like, oh my gosh, Virgil senpai!
Oh my gosh, I'm your biggest fan!
I'm your biggest fan, Virgil senpai! So Virgil says, like, okay, Beatrice told me to do this thing for you, and also the Virgin Mary and Saint Lucia, and also maybe Rachel
Berry.
Right.
Yeah.
Told him to do that, to come to make through this journey of repentance, and the first thing is that he has to go through hell.
Yes, hell. Very important.
So he goes to the gates of hell, which is basically this giant gate thing.
He enters Pentagram City.
Yeah, he enters Pentagram City. So it is this giant thing, and on the gate it says, what is it called? Abandon all hope, ye who enter here.
Yes.
It's a very famous line. So Virgil and Dante enter right in. Right?
Yeah.
So basically they enter this thing called the vestibule.
Yes, the vestibule.
The vestibule, which is basically anti-hell, like the before, not but like the outskirts of hell.
The outskirts of hell.
But you'll never guess where they come, who these guys are.
Who? The outskirts of hell?
Yeah.
Like the sin that it is?
Yeah.
I don't remember anymore.
The neutrals.
Right, the neutral zone.
Not the neutral zone.
Oh, just the neutrals.
The neutrals.
Gotcha.
People in life who chose neither good nor evil.
Yeah.
So basically what he said was basically the people who are too cowardly for hell, and not brave enough for heaven. You're right. So basically, they spend their entire eternity chasing a blank banner while being stung by wasps and hornets.
Oh, yikes!
Yeah, on a ground of maggots and bugs and stuff.
Gross.
Right. So this is where the premise of the poem becomes evident, because a good chunk of the poem is basically Dante going on this tour and recognizing people from various parts of history and literature and mythology. You know what I mean, Clara?
Yeah.
So it's basically him recognizing people from history, literature, and mythology. And he puts a lot of his own prejudices into this poem.
Of course.
So he's like, I don't like this guy. He's going in the hell.
This guy's in hell for sure.
This guy's in hell because I don't like him.
Dante hunched over his desk writing this poem like, yeah, that guy's definitely in hell.
Yeah, this is.
Yeah.
And then he's like, he gets this guy. This happens to him.
This guy is in the gluttony ring, and this is what's happening to him.
Yeah, that's basically what he's doing.
Yeah.
He's hunched over with his pen and quill, going like, yeah, like. Another thing is, you will see that he really dislikes Greek people.
Greek people?
Yeah.
Specifically?
Yeah, he does not like Greek people.
Okay. Very interesting.
Yeah. So, during this vestibule where the neutrals are hanging out, well, not hanging out, they're getting stung.
They're getting stung by wasps.
Yeah. He basically sees a figure who made what he called the Great Refusal.
Yeah.
Which is implied to be Pope Celestine V.
Yeah, Pope Celestine V.
Pope Celestine V, whose cowardice served as a door through which so much evil entered the church. That's a quote. If you want to know what the Great Refusal is, basically, Pope Celestine V laid down the papacy on the grounds of age, and though it is occasionally taken as a referencing to Esau, Diocletian, or Pontius Pilate, those are other people. Those are other potential people that could have been.
Yeah.
But it's most likely probably this Celestine V guy.
Sure. Yeah.
So.
That's just happening to him.
Yeah, I don't know why Dante decided to do that, because he was like, he stepped down, he resigned from the papacy, straight to hell. Straight to hell.
He is denying what was chosen for him.
Yeah.
To hell with ye.
Yeah. And also, we see a bunch of angels being tortured, which are the angels who took no side in the war in heaven. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they're the angels who remain neutral during the war in heaven.
Yeah.
So basically, they move out of the vestibule, right? And they enter the first river in hell, which is where all like the new souls are basically gathered.
Yeah.
You know what the river is?
No.
It's the Acheron.
I don't know what that is.
It's a river in hell.
Okay,
So,
great.
so
I only know the river Styx.
Yeah. Well, we'll get to the river Styx though. It will make an appearance, but we'll do it.
Are we talking about the Divine Comedy for this entire episode? Is that what this is about?
Yes, please, Lisa.
Okay,
I really like it.
Okay. We'll get back to the full Hazbin Hotel stuff next week then.
Yeah.
Or Helluva. Hazbin Hotel Helluva.
Yeah, we'll talk about Serpentius.
We'll finish Serpentius' story another time. We're indulging Nathaniel today.
Yes. So basically, he's being ferried by Charon.
Okay. Yeah, Charon.
You know who Charon is?
Yeah, Karen.
You know.
No, that's a joke. You wouldn't understand it. It's from a video game.
Oh. Okay.
There's a video game where the purpose is that you're being sent back in time and to like the Roman or Greek. I don't remember what it was, but there's like this day that's stuck in time, and you have to stop somebody from killing someone or somebody from dying,
right.
And you keep repeating until it like the timeline fixes, and the person who you first see when you get there, it's Charon, but when she introduces herself,
she's a woman in this.
Yes, she's a woman in this. But when you see she writes her name or something, I don't remember what it was, but he's the guy assumes it's Karen and not Charon.
Right.
That's why. Keep going.
So yeah, we all know Charon is the mythical ferryman of the underworld, from the underworld from Greek mythology.
The fairy person.
Now Charon does not want Dante to come with him because he's still alive.
Of course, yeah.
But Virgil's like,
dude, he's with me.
Virgil is like, does a Jedi mind trick on him and be like, you shall let him come in. I will let him come in. And then he goes across the Acheron. Yeah. And now we're going to go into hell. Like actual hell.
Of course.
So, basically, we'll go into the first circle. So, the whole division, in terms of Hazbin Hotel, Helluva Boss, the whole division about the hell being divided into 7 rings is very reminiscent to the Divine Comedy, as we said, as the Inferno.
Well, that's where the idea comes from.
Yeah, but Dante calls them circles, not rings, which is fine, but there's not 7 of them, they're 9. And they're not named after the 7 deadly sins.
No.
Some of them are, but some of them are not.
Yeah.
And we'll go into what each one means. And the first ring, you know what they are?
The first ring?
Yeah.
I don't remember the order of the rings.
You remember the Lord of the Rings?
There's one ring to rule them all.
Yes.
I'm trying to remember. Was Wrath the first one?
It was Limbo.
Limbo, right? Because I was certain that Limbo was going to show up, but I couldn't remember.
Right. So Limbo basically is probably inspired by the Asphodel Meadows from Greek mythology, which is basically where it's like where the normal, regular lamos go after they die.
Yeah, of course.
And so basically, the entire purpose of Limbo was basically, I believe, to fit Dante's own... Basically him trying to fix and structure hell so that his best friend Virgil isn't getting flayed in hell.
Yeah, of course.
And he was very much into Catholic dogma.
Okay.
And so he was like trying like big brain things like spewing out of his head, trying to make sure that he's not doing that.
Yeah.
Trying to make sure that his boy Virgil isn't frying in hell.
Yeah, of course. We don't want that for Virgil.
So he made Limbo. So the purpose of Limbo is that the purpose of Limbo is basically where the unbaptized go.
Yeah.
And the virtuous pagans.
Yeah.
Which are basically non-Christians from other religions, but they're actually really good.
Yeah.
They're actually good guys.
They're good people, so.
Which is what Dante wanted Virgil to be.
Yes.
Because he wasn't Christian, he was a Roman pagan, because he lived before Christianity was a thing.
Yeah.
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 So, there's that. So, basically, he goes there and and so Dante was like, "Hey, Virgil, have you ever has he ever seen anybody left Limbo, Virgil?" And so Virgil is like, one time I saw a super epic cool dude,
Jesus,
by the name of Jesus, come down and bring Adam, Abel, Noah, Moses, Abraham, David, and Rachel from Limbo
yep.
to heaven.
Yep.
And this was an event called the Horroring of Hell.
Yes.
Which, during the 3 days that Jesus was dead.
That's when he went down and was like, let me get these guys out of here.
Yeah. And after that, also, Dante also encounters, other people like Homer, the guy who made the Odyssey.
Homer Simpson? Oh, no. The Odyssey guy.
Yeah, Horace, who was the Roman lyric poet during the time of Augustus, Clara. Ovid,
yep,
who is another Roman poet, and Lucan, right, Clara?
Yeah, sure.
Who was another Roman poet. So he loves
Roman poets.
Yeah, he loves his Roman poets. Like I said, he was a Roman bootlicker.
Yeah.
And you can totally see that. And then he actually also saw characters like Electra.
Carmen Electra.
No,
yeah.
Electra, the mother of Troy's founder.
Right, okay, of course.
He also saw Hector, Aeneas, Julius Caesar, Camilla, Penthesilea.
All of these people.
Yeah, Latinus and his daughter Lavinia, Lucius, Junius Brutus.
Junius Brutus.
Yeah, Junius Brutus, who overthrew the Tarquin and founded the Roman Republic. He also saw Lucretia, Julia, Marcia, Cornelia, Africana, and Dante also sees a guy named Saladin, who's the first non-Roman guy that we see.
Finally, Jesus.
Yeah, I know.
Saladin.
So Saladin, who was a Muslim military leader, right, who was known for his battle against the Crusaders, as well as his generous, chivalrous, and merciful conduct. So we see that Dante, he had some kind of progressive views, Clara. Kind of progressive views. He seemed to like this guy who was a Muslim, which might mean something.
Maybe.
But again, he is all like, we gotta get all the Romans in here. Oh gosh, I love Romans.
Those Romans.
Yeah.
That's so important.
Yeah. He also saw Aristotle, Socrates, Plato, Democritus, some guy named Diogenes. Some guy named Diogenes, who could have been Diogenes the Cynic or Diogenes of Apollonia. Yeah. Anaxagoras, Thales, Empedocles, Heraclitus, and a guy named Zeno.
No. He's mentioning too many people.
He's name-dropping people left and right.
He's like, all of these people in Limbo?
You're right. Now, the Zeno guy could have been Zeno of Aelia or Zeno of Citium.
The Xenomorph.
Or the Xenomorph.
The Xenomorph.
Or the Xenomorph.
He's in Limbo.
Yeah. And then he also saw the scientist Dioscorides. Scrorates, who, of course,
scrotum.
who discovered the scrotum.
Of course.
Right? No, he was the father of pharmacognosy.
I don't know.
Something like that. He was a Greek physician, pharmaceuticalist, and botanist, and he was the author of some medical books or something.
Yeah.
Oh, goodness. Oh, and the list goes on. He is like...
On and on and on.
Yeah, he is like... Ophius, here. Linus, here. Marcus Tullius Cicero, also here. Seneca, also here. Alexandrian geometer, Euclid is also here. Ptolemy, the freaking Ptolemy here.
You know, they're all here, guys.
Yeah.
Oh, that's crazy.
Hippocrates, Galen.
Oh, the Hippocratic Oath!
Yeah. Avicenna, freaking Averroes, who was actually Persian, and a medieval Andalusian polymath known for which was Averroes. Also, he saw Cato of Utica and Statius.
Do we have to name everybody that he saw?
He saw a lot of people.
Exactly, he saw a lot of people.
Okay.
Maybe we can move out of limbo and into the next circle.
Also, okay, I got a little ahead of myself. Cato and Stratius was actually in purgatory.
Oh, well, there you go.
So, okay, we're moving on. We're out of there.
Moving on.
Now, we're with Minos.
Amino acid.
Right. Minos.
Yeah, Minos.
Yes. In Greek mythology, he was the king of Crete and the son of Zeus and Europa.
Right.
But here, he's this guy who basically judges the souls and basically takes them, throws them into whatever circle they're supposed to go into.
Right.
So basically, he has like a tail, I think. It was either a tail or a tongue, but he uses it to basically spin around.
Tongue sounds right.
Yeah, so it spins around the soul how many times of whatever circle this guy's supposed to be in, and then he flings them over there to whatever circle he's supposed to be. They're supposed to be.
Yeah.
So that's a a rap on frickin' Minos.
Yeah,
okay.
a rap on Minos. He's gone now.
Yeah.
We don't need to see him again. We know what he does.
Yeah, we know what he does. So now we're going to get into the real stuff, the real hell stuff.
The nitty gritty, the juicy detail.
Yeah, to the second circle, which is lust. So the lust people are basically in this forever hurricane.
Yeah.
With like 100-mile-per-hour winds, and they're all flying all around. Right, Clara?
Yeah, they're flying everywhere.
They're flying all around, and Dante's like, "Oh my gosh, that's Semiramis, Dido, freaking Cleopatra is there too."
My gosh, all of these people who were lusty.
Yeah, you know who Semiramis, right? Is right.
No.
She was a Lydian Babylonian wife of Onus and Ninus.
I don't know who either of those people are either.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, who cares?
Exactly.
Helen of Troy.
Of course, let's put her in there because she caused that war. Obviously.
Yeah, she was the face that launched 1,000 ships.
That launched 1,000 ships.
1,000 lusty ships.
That was definitely her fault, guys.
But don't worry.
She should be in hell.
Don't worry. Paris is also in hell.
Oh, good.
So the guy who actually did the thing, who actually did launch the trips, also Cleopatra's in there.
Yeah, and whatever. Let's put the women there. Why not?
Because she's all like.
Because she's known for sleeping with people.
With Julius Caesar, who's in limbo because he's cool.
He's cool, but Cleopatra not cool.
Not cool.
She was lustful.
She was a lustful harlot.
Because she also dated Mark Antony.
Mark Antony, who was actually nowhere to be seen.
Gone. In heaven.
Maybe. No, he can't be in heaven because he's a Roman pagan.
Yeah, exactly.
Achilles is also there.
Achilles in Lust? Is it because he was really angry about what happened to his gay lover?
Maybe. And Tristan.
I don't know who that is. That's just a dude.
That's just a regular name!
What's up? I'm Tristan. That's right. I'm really lustful.
So apparently while escorting the Irish princess to wed his uncle, they drank a love potion during the journey and fell in love, beginning an adulterous relationship.
Oh, no.
So that's why he's in hell.
Because he drank a love potion on accident?
Yeah, and, well, sorry, adulterous relationship, my hands are tied.
My hands.
To lust circle you go.
It doesn't matter if you accidentally drank a love potion. That's fine.
To the lust ring you go.
Well,
but guess what? He also saw Francesca de Rimini. You know who he is, right?
No.
Apparently she married the deformed Giancotto for political purposes, but fell in love with his younger brother, and the two began to carry on an adulterous affair. So, to the lust ring you go.
Yeah, the adulterous affair to the lust ring.
And you'll never guess what else he saw.
What else did
Freaking Lancelot.
From Arthurian legend?
From Arthurian legend.
That, I guess so. I mean, he did have that whole relationship with Guinevere.
Yeah, and you'll never guess who was with him.
Guinevere?
Guinevere's there too.
Oh my gosh! Well, at least he's including both the men and the women.
Right. So that's what he's saying. That's cool. So then we leave the lust ring, and we go into the next ring. You know what the next ring is?
Gluttony?
It's a gluttony.
Yes!
So
hey!
and gluttony is basically a giant swamp that is forever in an eternal icy rain, and like the swamp. You know what I mean? This really gross vomit swamp.
Yeah.
And also Cerberus is there.
Ooh, doggo.
Cerberus is there, and he's there chomping on souls and sinners.
Having his meal.
He's chomping on sinners.
Snack.
Yeah. He's chomping on sinners. And he basically conversed with this guy named Siocho.
Siocho.
Siocho, who's some guy.
Yeah, that dude. I know that guy, totally.
He's some guy. We don't know who he is. He might have been some guy Dante knew in real life. Who cares? Yeah. What else do we got? Who else do we got?
I don't know.
I guess that's pretty much it for the gluttony ring. There's really he didn't really have much people to put in there. Clara?
Yeah.
That's it for the gluttony ring. He didn't really have much people to look in there. But he goes into the next ring. You never guess what that one is.
Which one is the next ring?
The greed ring.
Whoa.
So the
greed.
It is basically run by this guy named Plutus, who in Greek mythology was the god of wealth.
Yeah.
But in here, he's just the guy who runs the third ring of... not the third ring, is it the fourth? The fourth ring.
Yes.
Who runs the greed ring.
Yes.
So basically, the entire purpose of the greed ring is that sinners basically have to forever push giant bags of money.
Whoa.
So they're forever pushing giant bags of money, and they're basically jousting with each other.
My giant money bags.
Yeah, forever. So they're just pushing money bags, and they're just plowing them into each other. So there's that. And he didn't really see anyone there. So, well, I guess we can move on.
Yeah.
So now we're in the River Styx.
Finally!
The River Styx.
The river that I know.
We're in the River Styx, which also doubles as the fifth ring.
Yeah. We love an all-purpose river.
Yeah, you know what this ring is?
Which ring? Is it envy?
It is Wrath.
Ah, Wrath. Yes. Okay. That was my second guess.
Right. So basically...
These people are angry that they're in the river. They're all wet and
icky. Yeah, basically the Wrath ring is really just where sinners constantly in a forever brawl in this river.
Yeah.
They're constantly like, punching and fighting each other.
Yeah, the being in the river makes you angry because
Yeah.
it's wet and mucky.
Yeah. And then there's also which are supposed to be the outwardly wrathful. Then there's another spot for the sullen,
For the sullen.
which is the inwardly wrathful,
Yes.
where they're just on the bottom of the sea. And not the bottom of the river, just being sad and stuff. So, there's that. So, Dante and Virgil basically hop a ride with Phlegyas. You know Phlegyas, right?
I know who Phlegyas is.
Who is he?
I don't know who Phlegyas is.
Oh, in Greek mythology, he was the king of the Lapiths.
The king of the who now?
Of the Lapiths.
I don't
So,
know what that is.
basically,
I
he
don't know,
was.
you can tell. I don't know what a lot of things are.
Okay. So basically, in the Wrath Ring, Dante sees this guy named Filippo Argenti,
Oh, Filippo Argenti.
who
My
was
guy.
who was a politician and civilian in Florence, and he was also the member of the Caviccioli branch of the
Yeah.
aristocratic family of
Yeah,
the
of course.
Adamari. So yeah. Let me see. So yeah, he was also what is known as a black Guelph. Clara?
A black Guelph?
Yeah, he was known as a black Guelph, which are the people who supported the Pope in that civil strife thing that I was
Okay.
mentioning earlier.
Sure.
So yeah. He saw them there, and that was cool, I guess. And
That's great.
yes. So
I like it when he sees people. That
Yeah.
happens a lot.
in this thing.
Yeah.
So then they go into an entrance to a hell city
Yeah,
called Dis.
Yeah. The Hell City.
Yeah. And he perceives high towers that resemble fiery red mosques. That's not good.
Well, you know.
I don't know what that's supposed to mean, but you
Me
know.
neither.
But he's all like, hey, can you please open the gate? But the fallen angels that are there guarding Dis is like, no, we won't let you in. F you.
Yeah.
So also Medusa's there. Oh,
Whoa, great!
yeah, Medusa's there.
Medusa!
And the Furies are there. And also they're like, no, you will not come into the Dis. And then an angel sent from heaven is all like, you better let him in or else I'll be angry. And they'll be like, whoa, okay, you're the boss.
Oh, alright, sir, Mr. Angel, sir.
Yeah. So that's it. And then they leave. And then they enter the city of Dis.
Yeah.
Now this is where things get kind of different. Things get a little bit more murky and messy with how Dante categorizes hell in the rings. So everything before in Upper Hell has been very straightforward.
Yeah.
Clara?
Yeah.
It's 7 deadly sins,
Yep.
things that seen it all the time.
Yeah.
Lust, wrath,
Greed.
greed,
That's what we
gluttony.
saw. Gluttony.
Easy.
Easy.
Easy to follow.
Yeah.
This is where things kind of deviate
Okay,
from
we're
it.
getting a little funky.
Yeah. So you'll never guess what the 6th ring is.
Envy? Pride?
It's heresy.
Right. Heresy.
it's
Of course.
it's heresy.
Of course. Heresy specifically.
Yeah. So
How
this
could
is
how could I have forgotten?
Oh yeah. So you'll never guess who's in. This is when Dante gets his eagle eyes out and he is spotting. He's recognizing everybody again. Clara.
Yeah.
This is when he sees Epicurus. Okay?
Sure, Epicurus.
Yeah, and the Epicureanus. He's there because he basically said the soul dies with the body. That was like his whole thing.
Yeah.
So now he's flaying in a flaming tomb in the heresy ring.
Yeah.
Also, sinners in the heresy ring are just in tombs, in flaming tombs, and they're on fire.
Yikes.
And that's where they're at.
Yikes.
So we see Epicurus, then we see Fortunata degli Oberti.
Gosh, Fortunato.
Yeah, who is probably known best for the Battle of Monteperti.
Yeah, that sounds somewhat familiar.
Yeah, Farinata actually strongly protested the proposed destruction of Florence at the meeting of the victorious Ghibellines, which are the other group of the Civil Strife who supported the emperor. And he died in 1264 and was posthumously pardoned of heresy in 1283.
Yes.
But that didn't solve him from Dante's thing.
Of course not. Of course not.
So...
Dante decided.
Yes. Dante decided,
You think that it saves your soul?
not according to me. And then we see Cavalcante di Cavalcanti. Cool name. That's a cool name, Clara.
Yeah, Devilcante, di Devilcante.
Yeah. Who was
That's gonna be the name of my new character that I'm making up right now.
Yeah. So basically, he was the dad of Dante's friend, which, wow, I think I think his friend will be really mad to see that my buddy.
Maybe he was a bad dad.
Put my dad in hell.
Maybe he was a bad father.
So basically, the political affiliation between these two men allows for further discussion in Florentine politics. So,
Wow.
So it basically, I think Cavalcante believed in other political things that Dante didn't agree with. So straight to hell.
Yeah, of course.
Straight to hell.
Of course. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy.
So yeah, there's that. He also sees the tomb of Frederick II.
Whoa, Frederick II.
Yeah, he was the king of Sicily in 1198, and he was also the king of Germany and king of Italy. And he was also the king of Jerusalem and the Holy Roman Empire and all that other stuff.
Yeah.
And he was commonly reputed to be Epicurean, you know, that guy from earlier who said that the soul died, so that's why he's there. Okay. That's why Frederick II is there. And a guy named Ottaviano degli Ubaldini.
Lots of long names.
Yeah, who Dante refers to as the cardinal, so I think he's a cardinal he didn't like. Clara?
Yeah, the cardinal that he didn't like.
Yeah. So, also, we see Pope Anastasius II is also there.
Yeah, Pope Anastasius II.
Yeah.
I definitely know all of the popes and know that one.
Right. But he could also be thinking of the Byzantine Emperor Anastasius I.
Oh, it could be that one too. Right.
So could be him.
Some of the popes weren't good.
Yeah.
So maybe I don't know.
Yeah, he basically then Virgil kind of gets into the spiel, explaining the geography and rationale of this bit.
Virgil likes to talk.
Yeah. So yeah, this guy's they speak fluent. They're fluent in Japanese.
Virgil is a proficient yapper.
Yeah,
professionally.
Yeah, Dante is all like, "What's bro yapping about?"
Dude.
Yeah.
Why you yapping?
Yeah. So there's that. Now we're gonna go into the next circle. I mean, the next ring or circle, whatever. Where they're actually met by the Minotaur. You probably know from Greek mythology.
Yeah, the Minotaur.
Was it a bull? Yeah, head of a bull, body of a man guy.
Yeah, head of a bull, body of a man. That's the Minotaur.
And Virgil's like, "Yo, bro, chill. Let us through." And the Minotaur is like, "Sure, whatever." And then they go into the next ring. What do you think the next ring is?
I don't know. Something also convoluted.
It's a violence.
Violence! That... different from wrath, guys.
Yeah, because wrath is you're just angry.
Yeah, you can be violently angry.
Oh, jeez.
It's usually how it is.
So, basically...
This is violence.
Yeah. So, basically, this is when Dante starts getting a little bit too in his head. Yeah. Also, he's all like, "Okay, we're gonna have rings, and we're also gonna have subcategories to these subcategories."
Whoa, crazy!
So
sub rings, if you will.
Sub rings, if you will. So the first section of the violence ring is What do you think?
The war kind of violence.
It was against neighbors.
Against neighbors. Violence against neighbors, violence against nature, violence against yourself.
Some of them was right, but we're gonna go against the ones against neighbors, like the people,
Okay.
like your murderers, your killers, like those kind of guys. So basically, the sinners in this section are basically in the Phlegathon, which is basically a river of boiling blood, and they're basically in
Phlegathon.
Yeah, that's what it's called, Phlegathon.
Amazing.
It's from Greek mythology, Clara.
What a disgusting name.
Why is that disgusting?
Phlegathon.
I don't know what these guys were on when they were coming up with the names, but it was supposed to be one of the 5 rivers in the infernal regions of the underworld.
And it's filled with blood.
Yes, it's filled with boiling blood.
blood.
And then, which is basically guarded by a bunch of centaurs, who, if they ever see a sinner coming out of the river, they basically shoot them with an arrow.
Yeah.
To get them back in.
Get that guy back in there.
So, yeah.
Get that filthy sinner back inside that bubbling blood
Yes.
river.
And they're basically commanded by Chiron, who is this well-known superlative centaur, who was like the elder of whatever, and Pholus.
Yes.
You know Pholus, right?
Yeah, follicle.
No, he was a friend of Hercules and stuff.
Oh, no, I don't remember that.
Yeah. And so basically Dante and Virgil are guided by this other centaur named Nessus, who is also from Greek mythology.
Great. Thanks, Nessus.
Who was killed by Hercules from the poison blood, and in turn killed Hercules, which is probably why he's in hell doing this stuff in the violence ring. So, Dante, ever the eagle-eyed observer, Clara.
Of course.
Ever the eagle-eyed observer.
His fingers on the pulse.
He sees Alexander the Great.
Great, yeah.
In the violence ring.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Boo, Alexander the Great! I don't like
Alexander
Greeks."
the Great.
And some guy named Dionysius.
Oh,
Dionysius.
Okay.
Who could either be Dionysius the First or Dionysius the Second, but they were both bloodthirsty, unpopular tyrants in Sicily.
Yes.
So there's that. We also got Azzolino III de Romano, who was the cruelest of the Ghibelline tyrants.
Yeah. Sure.
Abizo d'Este, and a person named Guy de Montfort.
Okay. Lots of violent people.
Yeah.
Being violent.
Right. Apparently, he was like some royal guy. But don't worry, we also see other people. Attila the Hun.
Whoa.
Also there.
Big name drop. Attila the Hun, guys.
Yeah, Attila the Hun. Pyrrhus, who could either be the bloodthirsty son of Achilles or King Pyrrhus of Epirus. Sextus. Renier de Corneto. Also there. Renier Pazzo. So there's that. So
all these people.
So there he goes. Moving on to the next bit, the next section of the violence ring.
Yeah.
What is it?
Is it violence against nature?
The violence against the self.
Oh, the self!
So, trigger warning, we're going to talk about the Forest of Suicides.
Oh, yikes.
So, Dante doesn't really... Keep in mind, he was a 13th century guy. The concept of mental health was not a thing at this point.
Yeah.
So basically, he was under the mindset of if you self-delete, then you are automatically bad and get sent to hell. Yeah. So basically, where these guys do is that they become like trees.
Yes.
They become trees. The sinners become trees.
The trees.
And harpies come down, rip branches off of their trees, which is
wondering when the harpies would show
which
up.
is supposed to be the equivalent of getting your arms ripped off.
Yeah.
Which is supposed to be how painful it is.
Yeah.
So that's what happens to these guys.
Yeah.
So that's not good. So he meets one trunk who actually ends up being Pietro della Vegna, who was the minister of Emperor Frederick II, until he fell out of favor and was imprisoned and blinded.
Ooh,
So as a result, he killed himself, and
Yeah.
now he's in hell.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there's that. Now Dante believes the accusations made against him were false, but that doesn't matter.
That doesn't matter because he's
According-
in the forest.
according to him.
apparently.
So there was another subsection. Clara?
Yeah, another subsection.
Yeah, there was another subsection, which are supposed to be the people who had great, people who had good skill,
Yeah.
but decided to just not do anything with it.
Yeah.
That was a thing.
Very interesting.
Yeah, so as a result, they're severely mauled by dogs.
Great.
Specifically female dogs. I don't know why he specified that, but that's what they do.
I guess that's important somehow.
Oh, the profligates is what they're called.
Ah, the profligates.
So now we're going into the next subsection. The next section, which is divided into 3 sections.
Yeah.
You'll never guess what the next one is.
No, I won't guess it. What is it?
The blasphemers.
The blasphemers.
So the blasphemers,
The people who
or
blaspheme.
the violent against God. So there's that. Which is where he finds a guy named Capenius, who was in Greek mythology, was the son of Hipponius, and he stretched out. This section is basically, those parts on the beach where the sand is really hot.
Yeah.
It's basically all that.
Yeah.
So these guys are basically standing on burning hot sand.
That's terrible.
So he sees Capenius. He's stretched on the sand because he blasphemed against Zeus.
Okay.
And he was struck down with a thunderbolt during the War of the Seven against Thieves. So
Okay.
I didn't know you can do that.
Really interesting.
But that's his thing. And then we see the next section.
Yes. Which is
The usurers.
The usurers.
Yes.
What does that mean?
Which is supposed to be the violent against art.
How dare they be
Which-
violent against art?
Which is funny because the usurers have nothing to do with art.
Whoa.
You know what usury is?
No.
It's basically you loan people money and then you charge them ridiculous interest rates. That's what usury is. So
They were charging these artists.
he basically didn't like that.
Yeah.
And then the next bit, before I go to the next one, I gotta emphasize again, Clara,
Yeah.
this was a man in the 13th century,
Uh-huh.
so he had certain prejudices
Of course.
against certain people.
Of course.
Maybe-ish.
Probably.
So
Very
the
likely.
next section is what he called the Sodomites,
Ah, yes.
which is supposed to be
The gay people.
the gay people.
Yep.
Well, or the people in the LGBT community, which is dedicated to that.
Yes.
Remember, this is a 13th century guy.
This is a 13th century guy, you guys. He had the things that are times sure have changed.
I'm sure has changed.
Things are very different.
Yeah, he does try to walk this back in the sequel.
Yeah.
But for now, he's all like this. So it's just supposed to be the violent against nature, which is kind of a load of baloney, but again, he's a 13th century guy. So here he meets a guy, he actually sees a guy named Brunetto Latini, which is a person that he knew a person who Dante actually knew in real life.
Yeah.
So, but he died. People think he was a teacher or a good friend of his. Now, Dante seems to really like him, but the thing is, he's gay.
Dante is gay?
No,
This guy is gay?
Latini is gay.
He's gay.
So Dante seemed to really like him. He was a friend of his and he was a teacher, but he was gay. So Dante's like, my hands are tied.
Sorry, you're here now.
But again, he's a 13th century man. I don't agree with it. At all.
Yeah, of course not.
But yeah, So he also sees other people like Pressian. Clara?
Yeah, Pressian?
Yeah, Pressian, who was a Latin grammarian and the author of the Institutes of Grammar. And he also saw Francesco di Accorso, who was an Italian lawyer, and Andrea de Mossi, who was a bishop. So I guess Dante is basically outing all these people.
Of course, he's like, these guys, they're gay.
These guys totally gay.
That's why I'm writing about them.
Right.
In the gay section of hell, specifically
Right.
for the gay people.
So yeah, basically, they go into this thing called the Great Cliff, which is supposed to lead into the eighth ring.
Yeah.
So Dante is like, okay, we'll hitch a ride on this giant creature called Gurion, Gurion, who is supposed to be this creature from Greek mythology, who was the grandson of Medusa and the nephew of Pegasus or some garbage.
They're all related somehow.
Right. So they go into the next group. And you'll never guess what the next
one is. What is it?
Pride,
finally.
The fraud.
Oh, the fraud.
Yes, fraud.
The people who evade their taxes.
Right. Now this one, it is actually also called the Malabolge, which is Italian for evil ditches.
Ooh, great.
Which is supposed to be a large tunnel of stone shaped like an amphitheater, which basically runs a series of 10 deep, narrow, centric ditches.
Oh, fancy.
And trenches called the Bolgia. Of trenches called the Bolgia, and each one represents a different section of fraud.
Of course.
And so the first
Financial fraud.
Yeah, the first one is the Panderers and the Seducers.
I see. The charming frauds.
Right. So yeah. So these people are basically, this is what we would think on our classic hell, what we would think. Basically these guys are being whipped by demons, that kind of thing.
Yeah, the classic.
Same old, same old. So basically he sees this guy, he basically sees this guy named Venedico Caccionemico, who was another guy that he knew, who sold his own sister to the Merchis d'Este.
Whoa.
So I would say that's valid. Yeah. I think that would earn you a ticket to hell.
Yeah.
With the Panderers. And he also sees Jason. Remember Jason?
Voorhees?
No, Jason, the guy, the Greek mythological hero and leader of the Argonauts.
Yeah, from the Argonauts. Yeah, I remember Jason. Yeah.
Whose quest to find the Golden Fleece. So that basically he was there. I'm going to tell you what he was there for, Clara.
Yeah. What was
so Jason is there because he was supposed to fetch the Golden Fleece from Aeetes.
Yeah.
Who was a king of Colchis, and he gained the help of the king's daughter Medea, and then he ended up seducing her and marrying her, only to later desert her for another lady named Creusa.
Wild.
So, yeah, that's messy.
Yeah, very.
And he also previously seduced some lady named Hypsipyle or something. Okay. When the Argonauts landed in Limnos on their way to Colchis, but abandoned her after he impregnated her.
Come on, Jason.
Yeah, what? Straight to hell.
Straight to hell, clearly, yeah.
And then next time, we see freaking the Flatterers. That's the next section, the Flatterers.
Yeah, the Flatterers.
The Flatterers, which are basically, and this is kind of funny, they're basically in poop.
That's funny.
Because it's supposed to be like they're always saying ish, so they're in poop.
Yeah.
So he basically sees Alessio Intermine of Lucia and Thais in there, Clara.
Yeah.
Who they're characters from this thing called the Eunuchus, Clara?
Yeah.
Which is a comedy written in the 2nd century BC, which is supposed to be a complex plot of rape and reconciliation. Mm-hmm. All that kind of thing. And then we have the Simoniacs. No! Clara,
Yeah.
the Simoniacs are next.
Oh, yeah.
Do you know what the Simoniacs are, Clara?
No.
Basically, they're people who basically sold ecclesiastic favors and offices within the church within the Christian church.
I don't know what that is.
They sold offices
Like.
and favors.
Oh, right. Okay, gotcha.
So basically those guys. So basically these guys are buried under the ground with their feet sticking up, and the soles of their feet are on fire.
Yeah.
So that's their thing.
Classic.
So we see Simon Magus, who offered to pay Peter for the Holy Spirit.
Yeah.
So, and he's actually what Simony is named after. This guy.
Yeah.
And then he also sees Pope Nicholas III. He's also there, and also Pope Boniface the Eighth is also there.
Yeah.
And then also Pope Clement V, who was the puppet of Philip IV in France, who ended up moving the papacy to Avignon. So
Yeah.
there's that. So he's in hell for that. I'll speed things up. Sorcerers.
Sorcerers, sorcerers, they exist.
Sorcerers walking around with their heads turned behind their backs.
Crazy.
Oh no, that
Whoa,
stinks.
wild.
Oh my gosh, that stinks. We see Amphiaraus, one of the seven against these, foreseeing the death of his war, and then he's tried to avert it by hiding from battle, but died in an earthquake caused by Zeus's thunderbolts trying to flee. What an idiot! What a moron!
God, that's crazy.
And then we also have Tiresias, a Theban soothsayer from Ovid's Metamorphosis. She was transformed into a woman upon striking two coupling serpents with his rod. 7 years later, he was changed back into a man in an identical encounter. What a bad guy!
Bad, terrible.
Also, his daughter Manto is also there. Boo!
Boo! Boo!
Oh gosh. And also, we also have the Arons, the Etruscan soothsayer who predicted Caesar's victory in the Roman Civil War.
Yes.
And Lucan's Pharsalia, and the Greek Ager Eurypylus is also there. Astrologers Michael Scott from The Office.
Michael Scott from The Office.
From The Office, but no, he's actually was the Frederick II's court guy at Palermo. And also Guido Bonatti, who served in the court of Guido Montefaltro, and as Dante, a shoemaker and a soothsayer from Parma. Man, they did not like him. Oh no.
Oh dear.
Okay, the Barrators, politicians. Dante hates them. They're bad and they're corrupt.
Of course. Let's not name everybody who's in there.
Oh goodness. He sees a senator of Lucha that he does not like. Oh snap, he meets some guy named Malakota, and he's all like, oh, I'm bad.
Yeah.
And then he's like, okay, well, I'll move you to the next bit. And so they go to the next bit. Oh, snappers. Oh my gosh, another guy named Friar Gamita, who was a corrupt friar in Galura, who eventually hanged for accepting bribes to let prisoners escape. What a bad guy. Michael Zenche.
That's enough! Stop naming people!
He was a corrupt vicar. No one liked him. And also Alicino and Calcabrina.
Nobody knows who these people are!
I'm explaining them.
No, you're not.
The hypocrites. Boo. We don't like hypocrites.
We hate the hypocrites. Boo, hypocritical people.
They're constantly basically held on this cape of gold, and but the inside is lead, and they're constantly walking with this giant heavy coat thing. We see two Bolognese brothers of the Jovial Friars, the order that acquired a reputation for not living up to his vows and eventually disbanded by papal decree. So that's not good. We see Caiaphas. Remember him? The guy who sentenced Jesus to death?
Yeah.
So he's there too. Oh no. The next one. The thieves.
The thieves. Thieving.
Oh, snap, the thieves. Oh, goodness. they're basically bitten by snakes and lizards, and they're in a pit filled with like reptiles, and they're constantly getting like attacked and stuff by these reptiles. He sees a guy named Vanny Fauci, some guy. Who cares? Moving on. The counselor's a fraud. We got Ulysses and Diomedes for the whole Trojan horse garbage thing.
Sure, whatever.
Why?
What do you mean, why?
I mean, why? Circe is also there. Wow.
The witch?
Yeah, that
okay.
guy. Some guy named...
How about we skip right to the end? How about that?
Guido Montefiore.
Another Guido. Great.
Yeah, apparently he advised Pope Boniface VIII. Or something. Sows of discord, divided into other things. Religious schism and discord. Okay, this is when things get really kind of crazy.
Yeah.
This is considered to be the most controversial part of the Divine Comedy.
Okay.
Which he includes a person which I wouldn't have included, but and I don't think a lot of people would include either.
Okay.
Because there's a doctrine that you're not supposed to draw him.
Right.
So Dante decided to put this person in this section of hell.
Right.
Which...
But he didn't draw him.
He written him in hell, which is not good.
I mean, that's not the best.
It's not the best.
He didn't draw him, though.
No, I didn't draw him, though. But he did depict him getting sliced in half.
Yikes.
By a demon. So, in hell.
Yikes.
And also his son is there.
Yikes.
So, Dante had some serious things he needed to figure out because he viewed this character as a person who divided the church. And he didn't like that.
Yeah, well... People will have strong opinions about things.
Yeah. Then we got the civil strife and political discord people.
Yay!
He saw some guy from who caused the Civil War. Who cares? Family disunion. Saw some knight who basically caused a quarrel between Henry II and his son. And then we have the falsifiers.
They falsify.
Falsify. There's also split into a bunch. The alchemists who falsify things. Ooh. Oh, that's not good. He sees some guy, an alchemist who has extracted money from the foolish Alberto of Di Siena and the promise of teaching him how to fly. What a idiot. Why would you think that? Capocchio burned at the snake in Siena in 1293 for practicing alchemy. Then we have the imposters. No!
Yes!
The falsifiers of persons.
They imposter themselves.
Right. Like Capocchio. Oh, not Capocchio. Like Griffolino. Snap.
You're getting all these Italian names mixed up.
Yeah, Mira. She disguised herself to commit incest with her father.
Yes!
So...
In the Bible.
Right. I think. Really?
Maybe? Maybe not. There was a story in the Bible about Job.
Right, but I don't think this is the same guy.
Yeah. Was
counterfeiters.
it Job or was it someone else?
Was Lot, I think.
It was Lot. It was
Right.
Lot.
The counterfeiters, the falsifiers of money.
Oh.
Boo.
Ooh.
The perjurers, the falsifiers of words,
Oh,
where
boo.
we see Potiphar's wife who
Harry Potter.
no,
Oh.
he sees Potiphar's wife who freaking squealed on David, who falsely accused David of raping her to Potiphar. That's not good. Sinon, the Archaean spy who lied to the Trojans in order to convince them to do the Trojan horse.
Yeah,
Dante has like a side of him. He really hates that whole Trojan horse thing.
Yeah.
Okay, now we're in the central well of the Molaborge, where basically Nimrod is there, the guy who made the Tower of the Tower of Babel.
Yeah.
There's also Ephialtes with his brother Otis, who tried to storm Olympus during the Gigantomachy. They're also there.
Just gibberish words to me.
Yeah. And then there's a guy named Briareus, who I think Dante made up. No, it could have been something. He says he challenged the gods or something. Titus and Typhon, who incited Jupiter, and also Antaeus is also there.
Yeah, lots of people that Dante wanted to put in hell.
Yeah. Now we're in the last and final part of hell.
Thank God.
You know where it is? What it is?
The pride.
Treachery.
Right, treachery. Oh, right.
So treachery is basically a large frozen lake called Cocytus, right?
Yeah.
So basically it's divided into 4 sections. First one is Cana, named after Cain, who killed his brother, which is supposed to be the traitors to their family.
Yeah, okay.
Yes. We see Mordred, the treacherous son of King Arthur. Boo, we don't like him.
We hate Mordred.
Yes. We got some guy named Phocasia, who was supposed to be, who killed his cousin. Sasso Mascaroni of the noble Toci family of Florence, who murdered a relative. We don't know who.
We don't know who, but the relative was murdered.
Right. The next one is Antenora. That's the next round. Antenora, who was supposed to be named after a guy named Antenor, who was a Trojan soldier who betrayed the city to the Greeks. Which is supposed to be where the traitors to their country ended up being.
Yeah.
So here we see friggin' Buoso de Diora, who was a leader bribed by the French to betray Manfred, the king of Naples. Tesaro de Beccaria, who was some guy who was beheaded by the Florentine guilds for treason in 1258. Gianni di Saldinieri, who was a noble Florentine guy who joined with the Guelphs after Manfred's death in 1266. Ganelon, who betrayed the rear guard of Charlemagne to the Muslims. So according to some French epic poem called the Song of Roland, which might not even be true. And some other guy who turned the city over to the Bolognese Guelphs in 1280. So, basically... Oh, I forgot to mention. This entire thing is basically a frozen lake, right? So all these people are basically... have their necks sticking out of this frozen lake and the rest of their body is all frozen.
They're chilling.
Yeah. Then we see this guy named Count Ugolino, who's gnawing another head of a guy named Ruggieri, who is an archbishop.
Yeah.
So apparently Uglione describes how he conspired with this other guy to oust his nephew and take control over the Guelphs of Pisa. But, there's that. Ptolemaea, the guy which is named after Ptolemy, who invited his father-in-law, son Maccabeus, and his sons to a banquet and then freaking killed them.
Whoa.
Which is, this is for the traitors to their guests.
Pretty rude.
Yeah, it's not nice. He sees this guy named Fra Alberigo, who was a friar and native of whatever, who asked Dante to remove his visor, who cares, blah, 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 blah.
Blah, blah, blah.
We're moving. Apparently he meets this other guy who invited his father-in-law and cut him to pieces. That's not cool.
That's, pretty bad.
Yeah, then we got Judeca.
Oh my gosh.
The final one.
The final.
Yes.
The finale.
Which is supposed to be named after Judas Iscariot.
The ultimate betrayer.
Yeah, this is supposed to be the traitors to their lords. So basically, this is basically where Lucifer is.
Yeah.
So basically, Lucifer is this giant guy. He is in hell himself for betraying God in the war in heaven. Clara?
Yeah.
So in this depiction, he has 3 heads, and each one he is gnawing on them.
Yeah.
2 of the heads on either side is where basically is Brutus and Cassius.
Yeah.
The people who betrayed Julius Caesar and killed him. And plotted his assassination.
Yeah.
And they actually get to have their heads out of it. But the other guy in the middle has his head in Lucifer's mouth, and this guy is Judas himself.
Yes,
of course. And that's basically it. That's the end of the Inferno.
And that's the Inferno. And you've been inferned.
You've been so inferned. Yeah, that's it. That's the Inferno. Right. Hope you guys learn a little bit, know a little bit more about...
the... I suppose the first... depiction
of hell.
of hell.
Yeah. And see where Vivzie might have gotten her inspiration in this whole thing.
Well, we appreciate. I'm sure Nathaniel really appreciates you indulging him for this episode.
I had to speed around a little bit at the end.
Unfortunately, because we're not going to dedicate 2 episodes to this.
Right.
But we will be back with the sort of overview of Sir Pentious' character.
Yeah.
We'll continue that in the next episode.
Yes.
Thank you guys so much for listening to The Devil in the Details.
Devil in the Details. See ya. Bye.
See ya. Bye.
Thank you for listening to a Vision podcast, home of Wacky Talkies, The Kingdom, Evil Exists, and many more.